All right, we are going to look at lesson 13 of our surface area unit. The lesson is called face value. So first, at the warm up here, it says which one doesn't belong? Explain your thinking. This is again one of those scenarios where there could be different correct answers. It's kind of what you are looking at and what you think doesn't belong. So maybe you spot D and say, well, D isn't a rectangular prism because it has this kind of extra spot on top. Sure. Maybe you count up the cubes. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you count this one, it has 12. So maybe B doesn't belong because it doesn't have the same amount of cubes or volume. Tons of different answers that could be correct there. We're going to move on past that to our next page, activity 1. So take a look at all the faces of this rectangular prism in square units. So this is the same shape just from a few different views, okay? Calculate its surface area. What I want you to remember from the activity that we did, when we have a rectangular prism, there are 2 rectangle bases, there's 4 lateral sides, and we should have 3 pairs of rectangles, blue, pink, yellow. Same thing is going to be true here. So when I'm calculating the surface area here, I'm gonna draw out a little picture. So I'm gonna draw out, and it doesn't matter how accurate it is, okay? But where I have 2 bases and 4 lateral sides, okay? Now remember, we should have alternating rectangles that are equal to each other. I'm going to use a second color. So it's alternating yellow, pink, yellow, pink. The yellows should be equal to each other. The pinks should be equal to each other. And then one more color for my bases. It technically doesn't matter where you label what. What matters is that we have 3 different types of rectangles. If you need to pause the video for a second to get your highlighting in, please go ahead and do so. Now, what we're gonna think about here is we have rectangle number 1, we have rectangle number 2, and we have rectangle number 3, okay? So, this first one here, this front rectangle here has the dimensions of 4 by 3. So to calculate that, we're going to do 4 times 3, which is 12. Okay, so this yellow guy is 12. This yellow guy is 12. We have 2 of them, so I'm going to double. So I took the dimensions, but I'm doubling it, which gives me 24. Now, I'm going to look at this bottom rectangle here, which matches with my bases, okay? The dimensions of that is 2 by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So the top blue is 6, the bottom blue is 6 too. So we're going to take 6 and we're going to double it to get 12. And then our last rectangle, rectangle number 3, is gonna be this rectangle on the side here. Okay, which is this front rectangle. When we look at that, we can see that this height is 4. This length across right here, it doesn't tell us, but if the length across here is 2, the length across here is 2. So the dimensions are going to be 4 by 2, which equals 8, but we have 2 of those to give us 16. So if we have 3 different dimensions on the rectangle, we should have 3 different rectangles, a 12, a 6, and an 8, and 2 of each of those, okay? If you want to do it without drawing out the image, what I look at is I take my dimensions. I have a 4, one of the other dimensions is 3, and we have 2 of those. My 4, instead of going with the 3, is going to go with our other dimension of 2, and we have 2 of those. And then we've already used our 4 with both of them, so now I'm just going to use the other 2 together, which is 3 by 2, and we have 2 of those. And this would give us the same thing that we have over here. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to add them up. 24 plus 12 plus 16. Well, 24 plus 6 is 30, plus 10 is 40, plus 10 is 50, plus 2 is 52, and we're just going to say units squared. All right, next one. Calculate the surface area of this triangular prism. That's a little bit more difficult. Again, these 3 are the same. They're just kind of moving it around for you to be able to see. What we want to remember is a triangular prism has 2 triangle bases and 3 lateral sides, okay? So, if I sketch it out here, we've got 3 rectangle lateral sides and we have 2 triangles. So what we want to think about here is if we have 3 different sides of a triangle, we should have 3 different rectangle totals. So I'm going to highlight those 3 different rectangles in 3 different colors. I'm doing it kind of quick, so if you need to pause the video to be able to catch up with me, then please do so. All I'm trying to show here is that we should have 3 different measures. Okay. What I want to look at is actually looking at our triangle, okay? So if I were to kind of just shade in this triangle on the top here, this side length right here is 13. This side length it doesn't say, but if the bottom is 5, this is 5. And then this side length right here it doesn't say, but if the bottom across is 12, this is 12. So for our triangle, the dimensions around, and I'm just going to kind of draw it here, 13, 5, and 12. The other measure that's given to us, 8, is that height that is connecting the bases of the triangles together. That is the height of our prism. Now, what we're going to look at here with the triangle, okay, is we have these 3 different measures, okay? 5, 12, and 13. When I'm labeling it, and I kind of probably should have made this a little bit bigger because really, I'm going to make mine bigger over here and highlight that in blue because we're going to go small, medium, large. So we're going to pretend this is all one rectangle. So I'm going to fill in my small side of 5, my medium triangle side of 12, my large triangle side of 13. The 3 side lengths of the triangle are the 3 lengths of the rectangles. The other side, like I said here, is just the height, okay? So for the rectangles, we're just gonna multiply. 5 times 8 is 40. 12 times 8 is 96. 13 times 8 is 104. So we took those 3 triangle side lengths times the height of the prism. 5 times 8, 12 times 8, 13 times 8. If there's 3 different sides of the triangle, we should have 3 different numbers for these rectangles. Now, the base, that's the hard part. If you look at here, that 90-degree symbol on our triangle connects the side length of 12, and then this side length right here, which should be the same as this, or 5. So that 90-degree angle should connect the small and medium side. The small, the 5, the medium, the 12, not the 13. It's always going to connect those 2 smaller sides. So when we are calculating the area of this base, it is a triangle. So remember, we're going to do our base of 12 times our height of 5, which is 60. But it's a triangle, so we divide by 2, which is 30. So this bottom triangle is 30, which means this top triangle is 30. So now, as I'm calculating my area, all that I'm doing is I'm adding these up. Rectangle number 1, which is 40. Rectangle 2, which is 96. Rectangle 3, which is 104. And then my two triangles, 30 and 30. So I'm gonna add those all up. You can do it by hand, you can do it in your head, you can plug it into the calculator. 40 plus 96 plus 104 plus 30 plus 30 gives you 300, and our units are just units squared. Okay, it says here are 2 different strategies for finding surface area of the prism from the previous problem. What did each student do? How are their strategies alike? How are they different? So, things that are alike. They used a net. So this is kind of broken down differently, but they're looking at the 3 rectangles and the triangle. Things that are different is that Abel, however you say her name, split up the shapes versus Kiri kept them all together. But they still got the same thing. She just needed to know that even though she only drew 1 of the triangles, you need 2 of those. All right, number 5. Here's a rectangular pyramid. The dotted lines represents the heights of the triangles. Fill in the lengths to make a net that can be folded to create the pyramid. So we kind of got 2 triangles here. We've got this skinnier triangle, which I'm going to match up with this skinnier triangle and this skinnier triangle, because those opposite sides are the same. And then we have this bigger triangle. And not just by looks, but you can tell they're different because here the length across is 3 versus here the length across is 6. So I'm going to highlight these 2 triangles. And now we can use this to fill in those missing lengths. So for the pink, that base length across was 3. And that dotted line, that height of the triangle, is 7. For the blue, the base length across is 6. And that dotted line height is 6.5. So now where it says you calculate the surface area of the rectangular pyramid from the previous problem, use the pyramid's net if it helps with your thinking. So what I would look at is our pink triangle. The dimensions were 3 times 7, which is 21. But it's a triangle, so we divide that by 2 to get 10.5. But we have 2 of those pink triangles, so I'm going to double it again to get 21. For our blue triangle, the base of that blue was 6 times the height was 6.5. 6 times 6.5 is going to give us 39. It's a triangle, so we have to divide that by 2, which gives us 19.5. But we have 2 blue triangles, so I'm going to double it again to bring us back to 39. Now the last thing we need is our base, which has the dimensions 3 by 6, and it's a rectangle. So we're just going to do 3 times 6, which is 18. So now I'm just going to add those together. 39 plus 21 plus 18 gives us a total surface area of 78 units squared. And we're going to stop there.